Welcome to the Buds and Reality Show, the #1 Liberty podcast in Detroit. I'm Shaun Collins, the guy with a lot to say, and I'm here with congressional candidate Mr. Jordan Rowden. How you doing today, brother?
I'm doing all right, Shaun. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on last minute. Oh my God.
Yeah,
You came through in the clutch, man. I was like, oh my God, I got to find a guest real quick. Like I had a last minute cancellation. He got real sick. I hope he feels better, dude. I hope you feel better, my dude. I know you're listening. So, hurry up and get well so we can get you back. But thank you so much for coming in last minute and kind of saving the day so we can get something out. And let's get going, man. You are running for Congress in Missouri, or do you guys call it Missouri where you're at?
depends which part of the state you're in. I've always said Missouri, but there are people in our area in southern Missouri that say Missouri. So
Okay.
it goes either way.
Very nice. Very nice. So you are running as a libertarian, which is let's get into that first. You're running as a
Okay.
libertarian for Congress. And a lot of people would ask, why in the world would you do that?
Right.
because let's be honest here, it is a two-party system in
Right.
this wild world that we live in, especially politically. Oh my God, what a mess.
Yeah.
But like, why the Libertarian Party?
For me, so growing up, my dad was always like a Rush Limbaugh listener and stuff like that. So I just mostly hearing conservative stuff all my life. Um, but then also, hearing just minimal government. They talk about it, but they never really did it. Anytime the Republicans got power, when I was paying attention, they had both houses and the presidency, and they never limited the government. They never reduced it or anything. Same thing here in Missouri. We have a supermajority of Republicans in the House or in the state, the state legislature and stuff, and they still can't get small government things done. They're always infighting and things like that, but not really sure they even want smaller government. So then I really started following politics around 2010, about around Obamacare and the Tea Party. So just kind of watching that play out. The Tea Party movement was supposed to be some smaller government movement, and then you get all these people elected, and what do you get? The same thing. Um, and so just kind of kept watching that going on for the last 14, 16 years, and just kind of got tired of it. Uh, I'd always heard about the libertarians, and I kind of fell into the well, they don't have a chance of winning or whatever, so I'm not really going to make that move because I thought, well, I'm just going to be wasting my vote, and I was like, that's. Then I kind of came to that realization, no, it's not really true. I'm wasting my votes now. I'm voting for people who are saying they want smaller government, but then I don't. They never actually vote for it or do anything to actually give me small government. So I went ahead and made the switch, and I didn't have any libertarian candidates in this area. This was an open seat. The current Republican is retiring, so I just thought I'll throw my hat in the ring, give myself somebody else to vote for, and other Missourians in the area who uh, are liberty minded and small government minded the opportunity to actually vote for it. So that's kind of how it all got started.
Very nice. So are you saying this is a two-way race then between you and a Democrat? Or
No,
is it a
sorry.
Republican
There's a
running?
Republican. There's a Republican running. Yeah, it's a very red area, but the incumbent is retiring, so it's like so there's no incumbent benefit there. There's just uh, you know, it's just that all three of us are. Well, I think the Democrats ran before. I think she's ran a few times in this race, and then there's a new Republican running in this session. So, and he's been in the Missouri House now, I think, since 2016 or 12. So he's been there a while. He's been, you know, how it goes. But the interesting thing is, I am the only candidate that actually is lives in the district. Missouri has some strange rules. You don't have to live in your district for federal races to run in them. So yeah, it's weird. You have to in state races, but not federal. And so I'm actually the only one who represents the district itself and who actually lives there.
Which is what district exactly? So your people
Uh,
know.
It's Missouri's third congressional district. It's kind of a big geographic area with a few couple bigger population centers. St. Charles County, which is north of St. Louis, and then Columbia, the south side of it, which is where the University of Missouri is, and then Jefferson City, where the capital is.
Very nice, very nice. So like what is your actual mission in this campaign? Like what are you trying to achieve here? Because, we all know the name of the game. I was a libertarian for a long time. I'm an anarchist at this point.
Right.
But I do appreciate my libertarians just because I know that's a huge stepping stone to the North Star of anarchy because
Right.
a bunch of minarchists, they are, minimal to no government, that's
Yeah.
great. But I do believe that we need a stepping stone, to get to a stateless society, as Rothbard would call it. I love me
Right.
some Rothbard.
Yeah,
But
good old rough.
like what is your actual mission in this for this race?
I think it's just to kind of challenge people conception of the two party, and I think people who are Republicans and vote Republicans consistently, trying to convince them that it's not smaller government. They're not really wanting the government out of your lives like they tell you at election time. It's like every 2 years, they'll tell you small government, conservative this, conservative that, fiscally conservative, but then once they're voting and doing everything they can, it's right back to the same old, and that gets us $35 trillion in debt.
Oh, I'm
Um,
so glad you brought that up.
yeah,
I am because Congress is responsible for the spending. They're the
yep,
ones who put together the spending packages. And we just learned within the last couple months that the national debt, the interest has surpassed $1 trillion.
yep,
$1 trillion just in interest on the national debt. The national GDP can't even cover that.
no,
Can't even cover the interest alone.
yeah, it's
So,
so
like,
bad.
we know that our tax dollars do not go towards funding the government anymore. It
Nope.
is already gone. By the time they get it, it is gone. And this is why they keep having to put together more spending packages and
Yep.
more spending packages to fund the government. But in the meantime, every time they print money, it devalues the dollar and totally screws the poor and the middle class because we're the ones who float the bill for it. Rich
Yep.
don't give a shit.
No, they got assets and everything, and inflation doesn't really hurt them at all. Um, and so it's just like, yeah, and I think bringing that home, with the $35 trillion, connecting that with the inflation that's been going on, I think you can kind of help people make the connection that usually don't pay attention to that kind of stuff. I mean, I remember when I first started paying attention, it was like, oh, the debt's 9 trillion. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. Why are we $9 trillion in debt? And then for the last, or since 2010, it's went to 35 trillion, and goes up like a trillion every quarter, I think now, or every year. I think it's
Yeah.
every year.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's more than
No,
that.
it's more than a year. Yeah,
It's
it's like
more
I think
than
it's
that.
every quarter.
Yeah.
Every
Something
quarter, I
like
think it goes up $1 trillion.
every 100 days. Every hundred
Yeah,
days, it's $1 trillion. You
that's
know.
what they're. Yeah, and then yeah, and I think the revenue last year for the government was like 6 trillion. So I mean, there goes, you know 4/6 of it or whatever is already gone, and they just keep taking money from us and wasting it. And I mean, the government should never have $6 trillion in revenue. I don't. I mean, it's just insanity. Uh, and then what they do, they just waste it. They don't, and they just keep taking more and more and more. And even going back to when the Federal Reserve and the income tax was, introduced, it was always supposed to be the top, or only the top, like only like 1% of people paid it. Now almost everybody pays the income tax. So it's just, I wish it would never been implemented to begin with. Federal Reserve never should have been created. And honestly, I kind of been thinking about this. But I mean, if say the founders have been alive like all through American history, they probably would have tried to overthrow the government in 1913 whenever they started implementing all that stuff. So it's just, they're just ruining the dollar. They're driving us into a very bad place. And that's kind of my main focus of my campaign is really hitting on that and what it does to our freedom, and which we don't really have a lot of freedom, honestly, anyways. But
Whatever
when you
you
start,
mean.
well, I got it. Well, one story. So I like to make desserts. I've been making them for a while for my family, and I was like, oh, I'll start selling these desserts. So I just put it on Facebook. Hey, you buy one dessert, you can buy it from me. And the second message I get's a lady telling me, hey, do you have a baking license? I'm like, and of course, me being a libertarian, I kind of wanted to go to give her a little hard time, but I stayed nice, thankfully. But it's just things like that. Like if I wanted to open a baking business, I got to go get permission from the government. That's not freedom at all. It's just how it goes.
Well, yeah, and that's the sad thing about it is the actual licensing that goes
Yeah.
into businesses. I'm a small business owner,
Mm-hmm.
but the business that I run actually doesn't require a license. I paint houses for a living.
Yeah.
That's what I do out in the wild. And so here in Michigan, I don't need a license to do that. There's other states where you might need to do that, like Florida. For the longest time, you needed a license to be a painter. They just changed that recently, because at the end of the day, it's just paint.
Yeah.
It really is. We're not messing with electricity. We're not messing with plumbing. We're not messing with roofing, anything like that. We're cosmetic. We put paint on the walls, our doors or trim or siding or whatever it may be. We're not doing anything mechanical.
Right.
So why the hell do you need a license to paint a house? If you
Right.
can cut straight lines and make your stripes if you need to make stripes or do whatever and prep and don't make a mess, what the hell do you need a license for?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, and they tell you need a license so you know how to handle food safely. And I'm like, I kind of already know how to handle food safely. And a lot of these places that are government like have their license and have the health inspector come. I mean, they end up making people sick probably more than any home like any other. I mean, it's just crazy. So um, the the government they implement these things and people think it's keeping them safe, but it's just revenue generation and control.
That's
There's
all
really
it
all of
is.
this.
That's all it is. Like, and I'm glad you kind of brought that up because, like, you have home inspectors that come in, right? When you go to buy a new house, you have to pay for a home inspection, and there's kind of an underground handshake that most people
Yeah.
don't see, because what happens is I got lucky when I bought my house. I had an amazing inspector. He was so honest, and he actually saved my ass because my wife and I almost bought a house that would have been a catastrophe. And he was super honest and told us to run from it. He goes, don't buy this house, run, get the hell out of here. Most inspectors will not do that because what happens is if they start nitpicking stuff, which he wasn't nitpicking, there was foundation issues on this house. It was going to cost me $30,000 to $50,000 to deal with.
Oh
That's
gosh.
why he told me to run. Thank God. Best $350 I ever spent, honestly.
Right.
Because that's how much it cost for an inspection back then. But that being said, there's this underground handshake where these realtors and these inspectors put in, they have a deal where do the bare minimum inspection because we won't refer you to other people if you keep opening your mouth about this, that, or the other. It's a thing. It's true. It's happening everywhere. And so, a lot of homeowners end up buying homes. I had a friend of mine that bought a house and all the windows were failing, but the inspector passed it and it cost them $40,000 to put new windows in their house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because he was like, yeah, well, he just kind of kept his mouth shut because he knew if he said something, he won't get referred anymore. And this is why stuff like this, stuff like business licensing is so atrocious to the free market. Because at the end of the day, we all know as libertarians, anarchists, whatever you are, agorists, that the free market is the end all be all. That is the one that is the one thing that will stay true to everyone, no matter what. And the fact that they step in and put all these rules and regulations in, number one, is absolutely damning to the poor and middle class people who want to just open a business and start up.
Yeah. If you're poor middle, like lower class, that's almost impossible. I mean, I was looking because she mentioned, I was like, well, what does it cost to get a baking license and you got to get a food handler's thing? And they said it could cost up to thousands of dollars. I mean, how is somebody who wants to open a business and can't access that money? What are they supposed to do? They can't, and then they're just stuck. It just keeps people stuck with that. And again, it doesn't allow the free market to work like it's supposed to. And the free market does a great job of regulating itself. You know, if somebody's doing a bad job, they're going to go out of business. It's just people aren't going to want to do business with people who they can't trust.
And that's a fact. And the sad part is that they bastardized the free market so much and incorporated bailouts to these people. It's so sad. So like me as a painter, 2024 hasn't been the greatest year in the world for me. It really hasn't. People are afraid to spend money right now. Yeah. I'm staying afloat. I'm paying my bills, but that's about it, right?
Right.
But like these, oh my God. I got to watch my wording because I get a little sometimes. When you're running for office, I don't want to make you look bad.
That's all right.
But like, where the hell is my bailout?
Right.
Where's my bailout? Who's going to save my painting business because I'm not doing well? Because it's bad for the economy if my painting business isn't doing well. Oh, wait, it's because I'm not a part of the club.
Right.
I'm not Amazon. I'm not Big Pharma. I'm not oil. I'm not GM. I'm not Ford. I'm not any of those people that get bailed out. I'm not a bank. You know what I mean? But like people like me, if my business fails, it fails. That's it. It's over.
Yeah, and that's the way the market's supposed to work. But like you said, they just ruined it. And like, you're not too big to fail, so you can fail. It's okay. We're not going to worry about you. That's kind of the way it goes. But yeah, I mean, we mainly live in some sort of crony capitalism, and I don't even know if you really call it that. I mean, if you look at, it's a mix of socialism and I heard somebody else say this, and I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's like a mix of socialism and like 20th century fascism. Like it's really the government's controlling property, what you can do with your property, which is the fascism part, and then they're redistributing wealth in the socialism. So it's kind of a mix of those. We don't really live under any true capitalist system.
I don't think America has ever seen true capitalism.
Probably not. Yeah.
You look at somebody like Lysander Spooner, who wrote a book called No Treason in 1867, who totally destroyed the government and the Constitution and the way it was written. And that wasn't barely over 100 years.
Right.
After, 1776. And you got guys like him saying, no, screw the government, screw the Constitution. I didn't sign shit type thing.
Yeah.
And it makes you really think like, hey, was it ever really real?
Right. In a sense, it probably wasn't. It's probably been one of the closest, I would say, but it's not really been a true, probably, laissez-faire capitalist market ever. I think even like when Rockefeller and them were, getting up, I remember them saying that the government, it's kind of, they were getting too powerful, even more powerful than the government. And the government had to put a stop to that because they couldn't have, people more powerful than them. So that's kind of one of the reasons they made the monopoly laws and stuff, to keep them from gaining too much power over, even the government. Yeah. So it's just, I would say probably, and it just keeps getting worse. Like we just keep getting farther and farther from any sort of capitalist type of free market. So I know, like right now, like the raw milk is kind of a big debate where, it's just like, if people want to drink raw milk, let them drink raw milk. Like, well, what? Why are other people telling you can't? And it's just kind of one of those nanny state insane things that.
Well, it is insane.
Yeah,
because it's not up to the state to protect us from ourselves.
Right.
It's really not. It's up to us to protect ourselves from ourselves. If we want to do things that hurt ourselves, well,
that's our problem.
That's our problem. It's not up to the state to regulate that. Now, if something that we're doing is harming other people,
right,
or putting other people's lives in jeopardy, that's a different conversation. But it's not up to the state to protect us from ourselves.
Right.
It's just not. There's free will. There's free will in the Bible. I'm a God-fearing man. And we don't need to get into all that right now. But but seriously though, it's just kind of what it is. So let me ask you something real quick. You want to go for the congressional thing. What is going to be your message to the rest of Congress, who is an absolute dumpster fire?
Right.
Hypothetically, you get elected. Hypothetically, anything can happen. Really, anything can happen. Honestly.
Right.
So you win. Hypothetically, you get in. What is going to be your message to them about spending?
Uh, I mean, yeah, I mean, just telling them the insanity of it to begin with, and all the problems, that it's causing with our dollar, and we're eventually going to collapse. And I don't think they really care. I think they probably just want to get theirs, and they're not worried about anything. So you just kind of have to be blunt and honest with them, and you can't. You might have a couple. If I got in, I might have a couple of people like Thomas Massey, pretty probably one of the more libertarian leaning Republicans, and I could probably co-sponsor bills with him and discuss things with him. And I mean, I would never vote for a bill that wasn't at the very least balanced. So, um, it is a close uh, Republican Democrat split. If I was ever the deciding vote, I'd shut the government down. I wouldn't care about the spending resolution or whatever they want to decide. Um, though they would eventually work, come together. But that's a whole new thing because they're going to do that this time around. They're going to do that this time around, anyways. Um, so yeah, and something has to be done about these social programs. So I talk because I mean the unfunded liabilities of Social Security, they're like 120 trillion dollars. I mean, eventually it's either gonna bankrupt itself and people aren't going to get the money they were promised, or they're going to print so much money that your dollar is just going to be worthless, and it'll be like Venezuela, or when you have to bring in tens of $1,000s for a piece of bread, or it's just so something has to be done. You got to appeal. I know I saw a congressman a few months ago really appealing to them about you're supposed to be representing your congressional district and stuff like that. And, it was received with not very warmly from the rest of Congress because honestly, they don't care about us. I mean, I bet they probably really hate most of us. They're probably like, I don't want to go these people and get revoted in, I just want to have my power, have my control, and do whatever I want. So really just trying to push them back. And honestly, I think what we really need more of is just normal, average, everyday people in Congress. I think we have way too many elite, um, people who are lawyers, doctors, who all think they know better than the rest of us. But we just need average, everyday people who are willing to actually do they need to do instead of just following political winds. Um, and doing the necessary hard steps that this country, needs right now, basically to survive, because we're on a path to eventually. I mean, if you watch any fall of any empire, we're on that path. So just hopefully, and so that's just kind of one of those things you got to do, and then you just got to push back. And I understand if I actually did get in, it would be very, it'd be a hard go. I wouldn't be very popular, but I don't really care about that amongst my peers, anyways. But just challenge them as much as I can. I know there's lots of rules and stuff within the House that they try to throw at you to keep you from doing stuff. But just working as hard as I can to represent the people in my district who I know, they want to be free. They don't want the government controlling everything they do. But convincing them I'm the only option that actually will do that, and the other ones just kind of lie to you. I mean, even Kamala Harris has become some sort of a wall building conservative lately, so, which is completely opposite of what she's been her whole life. So uh, it's just yeah. I mean, you just can't trust these career politicians, and if they've been in politics for any amount of time, they've most likely been corrupted and stuff like that. And even my Republican opponent, his name is Dr. Onder, and in 2016 or 18, one of those years, he voted. There was a bill that said lobbyists could not give gifts to elected or government officials or their families, and he voted no on that. He was one of the few Republicans to vote no on that, and you gotta, well, why doesn't he want that to not be the law? And there's plenty of lobbyists in DC, as we know, so it's just
One
kind of
in
one of those things,
particular.
right? Yeah,
There's one set of lobbyists in particular in
one
DC.
that apparently everybody has a handler except for Thomas Massey.
Well, you kind of brought something up, and your Kansas City shirt is
Yeah, okay.
you're a
I'll
Kansas
wrap it
City
one more
guy.
time.
That's right. You're a Missouri guy. You're
Hey, I will
Missouri.
say I did go through a lot of bad years in the when I was first a fan. So these are good, sweet years after some horrible, horrible times.
I'm just saying, if my Lions meet you guys in the Super Bowl, we're gonna kick your ass.
Uh,
I gotta put it out there.
you got there. You got it. You got it. I mean, I'm just always going to say, well, Mahomes' magic never, never hurts. So
we got Dan Campbell, Mr. Fourth Down, Dan Campbell, the great man.
I love Dan. He's great. I really like him. He seems like a very solid coach. Very, yeah. I like him as a coach and a person. I like watching him. It's fun.
He's made us into some believers out here in Detroit. We
Yeah,
had some very rough years out here for a
yeah,
long time. Pretty much, I'm in my mid 40s, and the Lions have been atrocious my entire life.
yeah,
Other than like a couple of seasons, one being last season, they surpassed what I ever expected.
yeah.
But let's get back to the important stuff. Anyways, I love throwing some sports in there. Though
Yeah. I mean, I'm sports too. I've always been into sports. So
but you kind of brought up the dollar collapsing, which is extremely important because this is a very, 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 very real thing that could happen. And we all know that SWIFT, which is the global monetization system, is already working on the CBDC right now, which is a central bank digital currency.
yeah.
Which, oh my God,
Which we basically have no freedom at that point if it passes.
that's it.
Because
That's
they can monitor everything.
Yeah,
They
it's
can shut
over.
you down, and yeah.
Yeah, it's over at that point. People like me will be screwed because I don't say nice things about the government on social
Right.
media. They'll be like, well, we're just going to take your money. You know what I mean? But like, so this is one thing, we just had the presidential debates and stuff like that, which for fuck's sake, man, like what a disaster. I don't even know what else to say other than it was a disaster. And by the way, Kamala Harris, said that she wasn't going to take guns. And then all of a sudden today on X, you see her with a post, ban assault weapons. I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God.
It's just
What is an assault weapon anyways, which they're going to look to you for. And we'll get into that in a second.
right.
They're going to look to Congress for that. But, that being said, with the money, the dollar's in bad shape. We know it. They won't stop printing money. It's only going to get worse. The reason Rome fell was because they wouldn't stop counterfeiting money, and then the wars sounds eerily familiar.
Very, very familiar.
It's kind of like, whoa. The U.S. empire is on the downslide. It's about over. It really is. What is going to be your message to Congress and whoever the president of the United States is, if and when that time comes? Because it could very well possibly happen. Hypothetically, if you get elected, it could happen during your term.
Right.
We're close. It's close. It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I think I saw something like, we're not, our position as the reserve currency is down to like almost 50%, somewhere around there, 50%. I think I saw, BRICS, they're building up and they're trying to, they're going to have a gold standard from what I understand. So they actually have some money backed by something other than the faith of your government. So yeah, I mean, the message, like if it collapses, you just don't want to do the, I told you so kind of thing. You kind of have to, well, what can we do? What can we do from here? What can we actually do to take steps to help this? And I think we've seen a decent example of that in Argentina with Milei, cutting all these, government programs and stuff and getting inflation under control in a very quick way. And I think you have to hit them with that. I mean, you just have to bluntly hit them with, we have to cut these programs, and we need our money to be backed by something, and we can't have this endless printing of money. Um, and if you can get them to do that and then have the money backed by something, then you can stop all this crazy government spending that the Federal Reserve allows. And you have to have cuts. The American people. I know people. Once they get a program, it's hard. Um, you know, but you have to have these cuts, and then basically start to rebuild from there. But you have to have your money back by something, whether it's gold or maybe a basket of you know uh, metals or something, just something along that line. Um, and then you just try to rebuild from there. Because I think if the American people, if we get to that point, we have the ability uh, to rebuild ourselves. And so you just you try to hit them with hope, and you try to, yeah, just try to get them to understand what led to this and reverse reverse what happened. And I understand it's real hard. I mean, the people of France lost their minds when they tried to raise the age of retirement and things like that. So you have to deal with people. But if you don't tell people hard truths, they're just going to keep doing what they're going to do. And when everything collapses, they'll blame you. I mean, they'll just blame whoever's in charge. So just being honest with people, and telling them the hard truth, and trying to get the currency backed by something, I think is the first thing you have to do. And you have to stop the endless wars, of course. Um, there's no reason for our troops to be overseas in however many countries they are. It's just, that's what empires do. They try to just continually gain land and control, and do what they want to do, and then eventually that they get too big and they collapse. They can't handle it all. So so it's just those two things I think are the big things we have to hit, is the getting our money again backed by something, having sound currency, and then stop with the endless wars and craziness. And if I was in office, I wouldn't vote for any money to be sent overseas. I mean, there's no reason for it. We can't afford it. Um, and really, it's probably just mostly money laundering back to themselves, anyways, I think. So,
Oh yeah. Oh
yeah.
yeah. Now, let me ask you something, man.
Okay.
So, have you drawn up any type of plan? You're running for Congress, so have you drawn up any type of plan for if and when the dollar collapses, if you hypothetically, get in? Because I think that'd be something super solid you could do
Yeah.
if you haven't done that yet. Because there's going to be a lot of pain that comes with, and suffering, to be quite honest,
Yeah. I mean, it'll be bad.
when the dollar collapses. It's going to be catastrophic to Americans because
Mm.
we have become so spoiled and so reliant on things to just be there. When it's not there anymore, people aren't going to know what to do.
Right.
So there's gonna be a need for somebody to have some sort of plan devised for something like this. Is that something you've thought of?
It's something I've thought of. I'm just kind of looking into things, but I wouldn't say I have like a concrete plan yet for it. I mean, I just got my own personal plan, is just like trying to make yourself as self-reliant as you can, um, and being able to take care of yourself and your family where you're at. Because honestly, I mean, I've listened to like Dan Bongino some, and he talks about the government doesn't care, or they're not worried about you when things collapse. They just want to keep the government functioning. That's all they care about. They won't care about what's going on with the people. So first of all, just talking with people, you have to have your own plan, and you have to be ready for it. And then also, you need a community of people. For me, I grew up in more of a small town area, so it's a little easier. I feel like when things get hard, people in the small towns, everybody knows each other, so they're more willing to connect and help. So for me, it's more what you can do on an individual basis to be ready for it. Um, because honestly, once your money's worthless, like what are you going to do? Um, you've got to be able to get food, and you've got to be able to. I mean, basically, well, you got to get food. So if you're self-reliant and can rely on other people, I mean, you can be able to feed yourself during these hard times. Um, so yeah, so that I mean, I wouldn't say I have like a government back plan, or anything like overarching right now. Just kind of looking into what can be done, and for me, it's just being self-reliant, being able to take care of yourself if things do go wrong.
Okay, and I do like that. I'm big on self sufficiency because number one, and this is it's actually just the number one.
Yeah.
Being self sufficient is the biggest middle fingers
Right.
system that you could do. Like seriously, you cut their legs out from underneath them.
Yeah.
You create parallel economies. You create alternative currencies. Or money, I should say. No, we need to make alternative money. Currency is trash.
Yeah,
Currency is trash. Currency can be counterfeited. Money cannot be counterfeited.
right.
And that's one thing that we need to learn as Americans more. Now, let's get into the lobby part of things because we brought that up. And let's be honest here. The Israel lobby is huge in American politics. It's really huge. And when you look at the list of people who are backed by AIPAC, it's almost the entire
It's literally everyone,
Republicans and Democrats included. They're all getting AIPAC money.
Yeah.
All of them. And this is why we cater to Israel so much. And I'm not against Israel. I'm not an anti-Semite. I'm not anything like that. What I'm against is their relevance in our government, because we are the United States of America. We are not the United States of Israel.
Right.
Okay. And to boot, they already get $3 to $5 billion a year from us, plus weapons before this war with Hamas even happened.
Right.
For decades, they were getting all this money from us and weapons, and we give them weapons to test out with new technology and stuff like that. And you're telling me these people can't take care of themselves?
Right.
With all of our money and weapons we've already been giving them for decades and decades and decades against guerrilla militants? Give me a break, dude. No. This has to stop. I'm not against Israel. I'm a God-fearing man. I'm a Bible-believing, God-fearing man. Those people are God's chosen people. But I guarantee you this, Jesus Christ does not want you supporting genocidal maniacs who are just out for blood and money. I promise you that. I promise you that. And the 10 Commandments says, thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not kill in mass quantities. I'm telling you that. And so what's your answer to this? What is your answer to get America back to America and get the Israel lobby the hell out of here? Because it needs to be done. They have way too much influence here. They own the media. They own the music industry. They own our government. They blackmail our government. You look at the Epstein Island stuff. Why has the Epstein Island list come out? Well, because it's protected by the Mossad and the Israel lobby.
Right.
That's why.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen one prosecution from anybody other than, Epstein and Giselle Maxine. I think that's Maxine.
Ghislaine Maxwell.
Maxwell. Maxwell.
Which is a funny story. She's literally sitting in a prison for trafficking children to no one.
No one. Who's getting these children? Nobody. Right. Exactly.
So what? What is your plan to get the Israel lobby out of here?
Yeah. Well, for me, I mean, I'm not going to personally take any lobby money. I mean, I don't believe in that. I don't think we should be. I mean, you're supposed to be representing the people where you're at. You're not supposed to be representing these lobbyists and all that. So me personally, I'm not going to do that. And then, I mean, all you can do is challenge your colleagues. I mean, unfortunately, you can't force them to believe what you want them to believe. But I mean, you can just challenge and be like, hey, you're not supposed to be representing these people. You're supposed to be representing the people in your district. I mean, I'm not even going to be representing all of America. I mean, that's not my job. That would be my role. My role is to represent the people of Missouri's 3rd district. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to, tell them, hey, I believe in freedom, and that's what I'm going to bring to you. And I'm not going to take lobbyist money. I'm not going to talk with them. I'm not going to let APAC, control my decisions and stuff like that. And so, and what you can do, I mean, you can try to be an example, and then you can try to challenge your other colleagues to, to let go of, the power and the money that, everybody's after, and try to actually do what's right by people and the people who elected you. And then again, that goes back to me saying, like, we need more just everyday real people um, who care about the country and actually don't want to, aren't worried about APAC and all that. And then they call us, isolationists. But it's not really isolationism. We're more non-interventionalists. We don't. I mean, we want to trade and stuff with people, so we're not isolating ourselves. But we don't want to constantly be intervening in the. I mean, look where that's got us. I mean, it's just a bunch of wasted money, and most of the world hates us because we've intervened in some sort of fashion in their politics and stuff. So for me, I mean, just staying away from the lobbyists, not letting them impact my decisions, not taking money from them, and then challenging your colleagues to do the same. Again, because you can't force them, but you can try to appeal to them, and then you just hope the American voters uh, can see a light, and can see that neither one of these parties are really care for them. They're not worried about them. They're worried about getting to office, having their power, and doing what they want.
That's right. That's right. So let's get into the next thing, because this is what Miss Kamala Harris is going to look to Congress for when she gets elected, because I'm not too sure that Trump's going to win. I actually don't think he's going to, especially after the last debate. Not that it matters. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter. We're screwed no matter what, whoever wins or whatever. But they're going to look to you. Miss Harris is going to look to you and be like, hey, we need to push forward this assault weapon ban. Congress, move forward. Now, I know you're a libertarian. Right. You're going to say, hell no, we aren't doing anything. But, let's, dig into this. Tell us how you feel about the Second Amendment and what you're going to do if they come at you with this nonsense.
I mean, yeah, I'll stand hard against it. I would, even if I got into office, try to push it to appeal the National Firearms Act and stuff like that. Because people, I mean, I think your average American forgets why the Second Amendment exists. And so you get these stupid arguments that, why do you need an assault rifle to kill a deer? Well, that's not the point. I mean, that's not the point of the Second Amendment. The point of the Second Amendment is to protect ourselves from the government. So they cannot be tyrants. So yeah, I mean, just going back to that, I think that would be, when I say, I'm not going to take away people's Second Amendment rights, because every time guns have been taken away from a population, we've seen what happens. Anytime any weapon, and then the government has the weapons, they always come after you. And so the whole point of the Second Amendment is to protect us from tyrannical governments. Even though we're basically there, they can't at least come kill us all because we have our guns still. But yeah, I mean, you just kind of tell them to take it and shove it, and then you appeal to the American people and you explain to them, the Second Amendment exists so the government cannot, just so you can protect yourself against the government, just completely, taking over your life and killing you if they want to or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, that's all you can do. And I heard something like most of the Americans and even the kids in high school now, they don't know even what the amendments are. They thought abortion was an amendment. So they couldn't name, I don't think they could name like two or three of them. And so it's just like, you got to try to appeal. And you just got to try to get your message out there as best you can. And unfortunately, it's getting harder and harder for us with the way social media kind of handles the algorithms and stuff. So, but yeah, I mean, you can just stand against it, and you hope when you stand against it, you get some attention, and just give your points and appeal to the American people.
That's right. That's right. Now, let's get into one of the most important things outside of the Second Amendment, the war machine. Congress hasn't declared war in decades.
Yeah.
because they gave up their powers after 9/11. The Congress, they literally gave up their powers to the president of the United States after 9/11. And now we're at a point where the president can just declare war at any given moment. But also, on top of that, they don't just send the Army and the Navy and the Air Force, and the Marines over there.
Right.
They're sending the National Guard overseas now, over there. Overseas.
Yeah.
And libertarians, have kind of come up with this Defend the Guard.
Yeah.
Which is an amazing, amazing bill. It really is, which would force Congress to vote on whether or not to send states' National Guard overseas.
Right.
Me and my personal opinion on this, the National Guard needs to stay at home. They're the National Guard for a reason. Somebody has to stay here and defend our borders and our rights while they have everybody else playing G.I. Joe all over the world.
Right.
But what they're doing is they're taking the National Guard because they've depleted the military so much, especially after COVID, trying to force them to take the shot. And either people got let go or they left from the military and they're not coming back. Because the military is supposed to be protecting freedoms and liberties. Mm-hmm. And they're trying to force people to take a lab-grown vaccine
that has no long-term testing.
That had no tests. Anybody who took that vaccine in 2020, you're a fucking guinea pig, y'all. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the way it was. Sorry, not sorry for being so brutally honest, but you were the guinea pigs. Yeah. And a lot of these military guys are like, hell no, we're not going to be. But now that being said, the military's been depleted so much. Now they're trying to send the National Guard overseas, and without any congressional oversight, which Congress should be declaring war in the first place. But since they gave up their powers, that's on them. Where are you on this? Like, please enlighten us.
Yeah, I mean, I support the Defend the Guard. I think it's a great bill. I know some people have pushed it here in Missouri. Hopefully, maybe they get it into a vote soon. Because, I agree with you. They shouldn't be taken. They talk about them being, the people who want to talk about the Second Amendment. It's like, oh, it's for militias. Well, if you want to go that way, these National Guards are state militias then, and you need to keep them in the state. I mean, I don't think they should be sending them over, especially, since, they don't even declare war anymore. They just, go about and intervene all over the world for whenever they want without any accountability or anything. So I definitely support Defend the Guard and stuff like that. And if I got back into Congress, I would try to get us to retake that war power vote so we can stop intervening so much over the world. And again, I would support, bringing all the troops home, because I don't think we should be doing anything unless we're directly attacked. So,
amen. And I'm glad you said that, because like, the fact of the matter is with the Israel and Hamas thing, we don't even need to get into Ukraine because that's we all know what that is. We all know what that is. It's a money laundering scheme.
Yeah.
Say what you want. I don't care. You guys can come at me any day, please. I got receipts for days. But anyways, when it comes to Israel and Hamas, and I say this all the time, holy wars have been since the beginning of time. They talked about this in the Bible, the oldest written book in the history of books, right? You're not going to fix holy wars. You're not. No. It's impossible. The only person who can fix a holy war is Jesus Christ, period. Right. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So why are we intervening and sending all our money and weapons and artillery and even men and women over there? Why? To fix what? I say, let them do what they're going to do to each other. It has nothing to do. Israel and Hamas has nothing to do with American freedom or liberty.
Nope.
None of the wars that have been in our entire lifetime. I'm in my mid-40s. I know I'm older than you. I'm not too sure how old you are, but
I'm mid-30s. So
grayer than yours, so I know I'm older than you. But we're not fixing it. It's not getting better. And we spend trillions and trillions of dollars on this war machine. Like Democrats get so pissed off. Why don't we have any socialized health care? Hey, man, look to the military industrial complex. That's why you don't have that.
Right.
But they're the ones cheering this on. They're like, no, we need to spread democracy all over the world.
Right.
The what democracy? There's no democracy.
Right.
There's nothing. Democracy is gang rape. It really is.
Yeah.
Look at what the Democrat Party did to their own voters. Again. Let's go back. I've been talking about this for weeks now. I'm going to do it again.
That's fine.
2016, Bernie Sanders ran for president.
Yeah.
And would have most definitely, in my opinion, beat Trump in 2016 in the election. He would have won. People were on fire for Bernie Sanders. But, oh, no, we're going to give you Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Okay. She lost. 2020 comes along. Bernie Sanders. People are on fire again. Oh, my God, Bernie. Feel the burn, Oh, no, we're going Biden.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, if I was a Democrat, I'd be extremely mad. I'd be pissed. Yeah. You're like, okay, I'm done with you clowns. I'm whatever. 2024 comes along. They don't even run a primary. There were some other Democrats that ran, like RFK, Marianne Williamson, Dean Phillips. To be quite honest with you, all three of those people would have been a much better choice than Joe Biden. Yeah. But they didn't even get a proper primary to even do that. They went along, those guys went along from state to state and kind of did some underground stuff that didn't mean anything, right? And then finally Joe gives up, as he should have. I actually feel bad for Joe Biden. I do. I feel bad that they put him out there like that so many times to embarrass himself, because it wasn't his fault, man. He's old. I mean, he's got dementia. I feel bad for the old guy. I really felt bad for him, especially in the last 2 years. He was a train wreck, and he had no business being out there. But they're like, oh, we're going to run him again. We're going to do it. And he's all gung-ho. I'm doing it. I'm going to keep running. And then the Democrats pulled the ultimate coup on their own people, on their own voters, on their own tribe. They throw his ass out of there and said, here's Kamala. Meanwhile, they've been screaming about democracy for the past 4 years, right? Democracy. We got to save our democracy. Where's the democracy? There isn't any. None. No. Zero. And here we are in 2024 with two Democrats running. I'm going to say it out loud. We have a New York Democrat against a Marxist Democrat. There's very little differences in these two. As a matter of fact, you guys, Donald Trump enacted more gun measures than Barack Obama did. It's a fact. Go ahead and look it up. And then the Supreme Court turned around and undid his bump stock ban, calling it unconstitutional. You guys, please. And it's funny to see these extreme right-wingers go for a New York Democrat. And the same thing with RFK. Like, he was a super progressive, and these extreme right-wingers were like RFK. And I'm like,
just because of the vaccine thing. That was it.
Yeah.
I never got the RFK thing with like the right wings and the libertarians, but almost jumping on his bandwagon. Because in the past, he wanted to jail people who didn't believe in climate change.
Yes.
That's insane.
Yes. And just last summer, not this past summer, but the summer of 2023, he said that Congress needed to act on an assault weapon ban, and then turned around and said later that he's not coming for our guns, just like somebody else we know, Kamala. Anyways, but no, to wrap this show up, man, I'm gonna bring. Let me pull this up. I saved some stuff on my phone just for this. Nope, wrong button. Okay. This is from Gold Telegraph. The next three things I'm going to bring up is from Gold Telegraph, and I want your takes on this because this is very important considering that you're running for Congress. And also, nobody else is really talking about this.
Okay.
It's not on your Fox and CNN and MSN and all that shit. So, Gold Telegraph. China and Russia contribute to around 22% of the global gold production. China is the biggest producer, yet is still the biggest importer. It is expected the two countries will soon start completing barter trade. Gold continues setting the record highs in US dollar terms. Go.
I mean, yeah, we've already seen like not just, I mean, a lot of central banks have been buying gold. I mean, that's why the price has been skyrocketing. And if, you know, with the way the dollar is now, they're supposed to like international trade is usually done in the dollar. You know, that's why we're the reserve currency. Um, but if they start bartering in gold, that eliminates the dollar as the as a reserve currency. Basically, if you're going to trade in gold, I mean that's a metal, that's a valuable metal, and if you're going to back your currency by that, then or if you're going to barter and trade in that, then there's no need for the dollar because it's technically not a currency. It's actual money, like you were talking about earlier. So yeah, so that's I mean again that's concerning. It goes back to the possibility of the dollar collapsing, and if they start bartering in gold and metals, and I mean that basically they don't have to use the dollar anymore. So, and also we were talking about that, and then we also it was like a secret deal with OPEC that nobody really knew about till recently that the oil had to be traded in a dollar, and now they've backed out of that too. So we've lost. I mean, we had a little bit of a backing with them, but now it's like even that's gone. So it's just like we have nothing backing the dollar. And once you start trading, and other countries start trading in gold instead of the dollar, our dollar becomes less valuable instantly.
Which, by the way, you guys, the BRIC system is China and Russia. There's more countries. Yeah. There's Brazil. Yeah. There's Brazil. India, there's Mexico. There's a few other countries involved in all this, but
it's mainly China and Russia.
Let it be known that the BRICS currency will be backed by gold. Just keep that in the back of your mind right now as we go through this. Next one, gold telegraph again. Silver has quietly been up over 20% these past 6 months. Watch that gold silver ratio closely. Look at historical averages. Go.
So I haven't really looked too much into the gold and silver aspect. But yeah, anytime metals are going up, that usually means your currency is going down because again, if they're buying silver too, they're going to use it to back something, while our dollar is backed by nothing. And so if those I guess I don't really know what the ratios are historically. So I don't think I can speak too well to this question, honestly. But I mean, if I got into Congress, of course, I would want to end the Fed. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah, and put us back on a gold standard and stuff like that. So, but yeah, I mean, you might be able to talk more about that silver to gold ratio. I guess I haven't. I don't know the historical ratio. I guess from that.
Well, I mean, so gold is over $2,500 an ounce at this point. Silver is above 30 at this point, $30 an ounce. Okay. The ratio is that silver was such a low buy in the last couple years that $30 is a big stretch to where gold's kind of been over $2,000 for a while now.
Sure, yeah.
And it hasn't grown percentage wise as much as silver has. So that's where the ratio comes from.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I remember I had some silver and I had to sell it a couple of years ago. It was like $22 an ounce. So yeah, it's gone up quite a bit over the last couple of years.
Well, and the craziness is, and they don't show this. They don't want you to know this. Obviously, precious metals, AKA gold, silver, copper, platinum, diamonds, whatever you want to call them, that's all precious metals. It all falls under the category. They have been outperforming the S&P for decades.
Yeah.
Decades. Now finally, here's a big one. And this is actually from over a month ago now, but this is huge. I saved this for a long time. Gold telegraph again. Gold demand from China and central banks accounted for 85% of the mine supply in the first 3 months of 2024. In other words, 85% of gold production has gone straight to the central banks that issue fiat currency.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a crazy. I mean, 85%. They're obviously stockpiling gold because they're expecting something. Um, and that's the only reason you do it. They have, I mean, so they're expecting, and as the U.S. being the reserve currency, that of course alarm bells go. So what's going on with our dollar? Why do they need all this gold all of a sudden? And we know why, because the dollar is, I mean, it's backed by nothing, and as they continue to spend more and more money, and what 25% of our uh, of the dollars out there were just sent out in the last 4 years since COVID, and so it's just like obviously our money is just being devalued like crazy. Um, and so you have to have this gold. So when things collapse, you got to have something to stand on. And that, I mean, and that's what they're doing. And then like a side effect, a lot of our electronics now use gold and stuff. So that's going to drive up electronic prices. Uh, they have more gold and stuff to hold and to use for their electronics and their innovation and stuff. So it's just a lot of different things going on there. But the most concern, I like for us as Americans, we should be worried because of the way the dollar is going and why these banks are buying and why China and Russia are all after this gold because they know what's coming. Um, they know that the dollar is failing and collapsing and eventually will be replaced. And they want to be the ones who do it. So they're going to back theirs by gold. And hopefully, and whenever that happens, they'll be there to have a sound currency. And then all these central banks will go after their currency instead of the dollar. So.
You're not wrong, my friend. Now, to close it out, do you have a message for your voters or anything like that before we go?
Yeah. So I mean, a lot of my campaign is just like stop the insanity. Stop doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Stop voting R&D, hoping that they're going to finally do something they haven't done in the past. Uh, if you actually want to be free and have liberty and to live in an America that's not going to collapse or that has a chance of recovering, you're going to have to do something different. You're going to have to be, it takes bravery and courageous to do something different. And so I appeal to people that way, and I hope, they wake up like me. I was part of the two-party system. I didn't think I'd ever change, and eventually you just realize, well, things are pretty crazy, and they're not doing anything different. We're eventually going to collapse if nothing's done. And so, and it can be frustrating at times because people, yeah, I agree with everything about you, but I don't think I can vote for you because I don't think you can win. And so it's just like, don't be that tribal. I mean, because that's all it is. Vote your actual conscience and what you believe in. Don't just vote for an R&D, which is basically election time is sports, like that's in season, and then when the off season, you don't pay as much attention, and your team does whatever they want and stuff like that. So um, just try not to vote only based on the R&D in front of somebody's name, but actually vote on people you can trust. People who are everyday people who aren't just going to be after something to gain power through going off to DC and stuff like that. And be bold and courageous and taking that step to vote different, because that's the only thing that's going to really help this country right now, I think.
That's right. That's right. Now, Jordan, how can people find you and how can people donate to you? Because we all know the name of the game. We got to raise money for our campaigns. That's what it is. So how can we do this?
My website is jordanrowden4congress.org. So it's all spelled out. On Twitter, it's at Jordan Rowden or at Rowden Jordan. Sorry. And then you can find links there to donate, to volunteer, to do whatever you. So yeah, those are the two best ways to find me. Twitter, you can kind of see things I've been saying and see some of my positions on things. Again, my website also has position and platform and stuff. So those are the two best ways to find me. Again, it's Jordan Rowden for Congress.org or at Rowden Jordan on X.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it, especially coming through at the last minute in the clutch, man. It means the world to me, man. Good luck on your campaign. Kick some ass, do good, bring liberty back to, the world, the especially the United States. No, bring liberty back to the world, not just
Right.
the United States. Liberty needs to be worldwide at this point.
Yeah.
We're desperate for it. Thank you so much, brother. Peace, love, and liberty. Y'all be good.
Thanks, Shaun. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you.
Yeah.